Great. You guys go. I'll just stand here and make faces.
Exactly. Hey, Jonah, come on. You can come over here behind us and say hi to the crowd for tonight.
What are you talking with Myles about? What's the topic?
Hey, we've already started the webinar.
Oh,
Hey, everybody. Elton Slone here with Myles Trapp, my co-host today, MS and all around great guy. Jonah Beer just stopped to, I won't say Jonah Beer just stopped by as usual. So we always have a cast of winemakers in the house. If anybody is, if anybody hears too much background noise, I blame it on the cocktailers here at Robert Craig. But today's a very special day for us. Not only are we doing a webinar, but as many of our customers informed me, the World Cup game with the Netherlands is taking place right now in Kansas City. So apologies for that. But first, wine is greater than soccer. Come on. We have to get our priorities straight. So if you haven't done so already, I ask everybody to please go ahead and open up your Chenin Blanc at this point. While I give you a little bit of what we're all here for. Curly's, I love you. Samuel's, love you. Christine and Travis Brown, fantastic. The Leahys, oh my God, there's so many people on here. Too many to mention. Doug Dickler, Henry Knowles, Gator, I love you. Jason Guerrero, Jason, man, you're the bomb. I hope that World Cup parade, the energy is hitting you guys right now. God, Jim Logan, oh man, Jim Logan, I just the absolute best. So we have so many people on. Apologies, I'm not going to get to everybody. God, Wesley Muirhide. So we have a number of longtime Craigers, longtime club members. We just had it seems like yesterday, but it was a little while ago that we had our Robert Craig spring release party. And what was super cool about that to me was I think I saw 4 different wine club couples that were here that have been in the club for more than 25 years, longer than my 22-year interim. So today the theme is have a glass of crisp, dry white wine every afternoon, whether you need it or not, because you don't know it, but you do need it. And then we're going to talk about what makes mountain wine great, even in an off vintage, even in a warm year like 2022 for the estate Howell Mountain Cabernet. And we're going to talk about why people do a second label, and as an MS, Myles just got back from France, so you weren't trying any second labels. It looks like on your Instagram there and on your Insta in Paris. So without further ado, and the chat is going. Oh, I already have impatient people. Jason, I'm getting to it. We're gonna dive right in. I'm going to share. And unfortunately I uploaded a bunch of really great photos at home to did all my arranging on my iPad. And then I almost didn't make it here in time for the start of the seminar. I forgot NASCAR's in town. So my 40-minute drive turned into an hour and 15-minute gulag. But just to let everyone know that's on here, there's a lot of love out here for the Craigs, and Lynn Craig is going to be in the house on July 17th. So mark your calendars. We're going to definitely have some sort of taco or pizza theme or something. There is no charge, but come by and share some wine with Lynn if you'd like to. We'll send something out. But oh my God, and these photos are all completely out of order as well. I'm just realizing. So never mind that. What's going on? Jason Price and Jordanos. They are making wine like crazy. We just got done with bottling. So now they're just pretending like they're busy up top. You know who's in the house right behind me? Rachel, do you want to come over and say hi for the camera, or you can just keep hanging out? But we have Rachel Miller is here from Honduras.
Good to see everybody, or know you're there. Come to visit.
She never brings me that big old kilo of cocaine to keep our finances from
Honduran finest. Yeah.
yeah, the Honduran marching powder to keep us rolling here at Robert Craig. But in other people news, that my Leah, I'm sorry, but we have a photograph of Leah who's come to us after many years in the wine business. You get a chance to meet her. But you get Myles Trapp. Myles, I took this straight off IG, man. You look like
Nice.
I mean, this looks like a young Jack Nicholson there back in the day.
Oh,
You know what?
that's what I'm going for. Jack Nicholson in the vineyards.
That looks pretty
Yeah.
Frenchy. Do you know what vineyard that was taken in?
I do remember. I think I was quizzing everybody on this. I know I was in the village of Chassagne, which is one of my favorite places in Burgundy. Was just there this past week. I want to say this was in front of like Les Chaumet, perhaps one of
Okay.
those vineyards. Yeah.
And then here's you as Danny and Sandy.
That's right. That's right. That's my best Danny impression.
That's your best Danny impression. So Myles, as we get into this Chenin Blanc, here's the rocks in our Howell Mountain vineyard where the Chenin is grown. This is the only Chenin Blanc that is a Howell Mountain AVA. Now there are several producers that make great Chenin Blanc, but almost all of them, except for Chapelet notably, draw from the same vineyard in Pope Valley. So I think it's all the same place, like Mondavi Sisters. Chenin has become quite a hot commodity. So I like to say that 4 years ago when we did this bud over, that I was a genius. Here's the soil again. These are the big rocks. These are the little rocks in the vineyard. It's that red Aiken loam. To let you know, at Robert Craig, we have a great track record of making ageable white wines. It's a shot of some 2006 Chardonnay that I opened up recently with Chuck Spellman, our VP of sales, and his wife at their house. And he came in and said, "Oh my God, this 2016 is so young." And I said, "It's 06, man." He just couldn't get over the fact. You can see that color. It's just a fantastic glass of wine. But we're here today. It's a great shot for social media that Natalie Milanis took of the Chenin. And you're looking up the hill. You see all those little white, it looks like Arlington Cemetery in this piece. But all those white sleeves, the new vines from the fires that are still coming on board. And the great Chenins of the world, like I love Guy Berthaud. That was kind of the inspiration for me doing Chenin Blanc. There's Sommelier. This one, Richard Leroy, Les Nouvelles de Montbenoit, Vin de France. So this is a $450 one. And from him, I've had one tremendous one and one prematurely oxidized one, because I guess he uses no SO2 or anything like that.
Yeah.
No sulfur. So that was disappointing for a $450 bottle of Chenin Blanc. Another one from Sommelier is Arnaud Lambert. I don't have a great photo. Again, I apologize from Bez. And here's Jason this year tasting our 25 Chenin that we'll release. I'm going to let this one sit a little bit longer because the 24 is just now showing beautifully. But you can see Jason tasting this one. And we took a couple of barrels through partial malolactic this year to give it a little more weight in the middle. And when we took it off the lees, Jason, what do you say? There was a little leesy wine that went back in, I think, after the racking. And so it's going to have a little bit more of that sort of struck matchstick, a little more reduction in high SO2 level. So Myles, as we sit here and start having our first taste of Chenin, first of all, how did you get your start in the business?
Oh boy. So I guess I would probably go all the way back to just when I was a little whippersnapper around 15 years old. My first job was, my first job outside of sweeping my grandfather's warehouses was bussing tables in an old Italian joint in the Chicago suburbs.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like a lifetime hospitality restaurant guy. Kind of worked my way up, through the ranks, like worked as a server, worked as a bartender. Eventually I got the bright idea of becoming a sommelier into my brain. I think it was through a friend of mine. She suggested that we take some sommelier classes at Kendall College in Chicago, which is a culinary school. So every Sunday we would go up, we would take kind of a full day class. And I was learning about a lot of French terminology, heavy French emphasis when you're learning about wine typically, because the French kind of, invented modern wine, I would say. And a lot of that started to sound familiar to me because
Man, you're going to have some Italians just
oh, I know, I
gonna,
know, I know I'm going to hear
and
it.
some people from Georgia, from the old country.
I know, I know. I know I'm going to hear it. It's funny. I've spent too much time in France now. I think the chauvinism has started to bleed off on me a little bit. So, and I really am a Francophile. So I've always like studied French in school. I took the opportunity when I was at university to go study in France. And then at some point, as I was kind of working my way up through restaurants, a school had come across my radar where you could train as a sommelier in the south of France, and so I applied to this program. I took a sommelier course in the southern Rhone Valley is where the school is. It was inside of a big chateau that was formerly the Chateau of the Dukes of Orange. And it's a beautiful building. It's now been converted into a museum and a school. And I had the best wine education there.
Wow. Well, Jason and Natalie just returned from that area of the world. They were in going to Hermitage and Côte Rôtie and checking out the world of Rhone. And how was I not aware that there's a place in the south of France near the Rhone Valley that you could go where the Dukes of Orange had a school?
Yeah.
I would have been all over that, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I joked that it was really like my Harry Potter moment where going to school was like going to Hogwarts, going to a castle every morning to go taste wine and learn about the sommelier profession and how to become a sommelier. So I kind of took that knowledge and made it to California, to Napa Valley, and then started working in restaurants and hotels here. And then started working my way through the Court of Master Sommeliers curriculum. And in 2024, after probably about, 9 years of really dedicated study and working in the profession, I finally managed to pass the most grueling wine exam, the Master Sommelier exam.
9 years, that's about the regular amount of time for the Sloan family to graduate with an undergraduate degree from college. So that's amazing.
Yeah, well, thanks so much.
It's
Yeah, it was quite a journey. I still know many people that are on that path, and it's been very rewarding to be part of it, and I'm so happy to be part of the community to get to taste with people like you who to me have I from the beginning of my career I always looked at the producers, the winemakers, the growers as the real legends and the heroes that I really aspired, that I looked up to. So
I really think that's the right attitude.
mhm.
Well, were you ever given the test questions earlier, sexually harassed when you were studying?
Yeah, that's, I wasn't quite high up enough in the like in the exams yet to really, have suffered through any of those scandals. I've only just
I'm just
been,
asking. I'm just asking.
yeah, no, of course. Yeah, yeah. No, and it's, like yeah, there's definitely some, regrettable history there. But the good news, I think, is that I think, the organization, the court has come out much, much the better, come out the other side. And I think that there's been a lot of improvements being made. And yeah, let's face it. I mean, the sommelier profession has, come into a new stage. I think it's always been difficult because the modern version of the sommelier, people are like, okay, is this like someone who's going to look down their nose at you and tell you what to taste and tell you what to like? And I never subscribe to that notion of sommelery. So I think the dawn of the new sommelier is about someone who opens the door, who broadens horizons, who acknowledges that people absolutely have a right to their own taste and they should feel empowered to follow their own taste towards what they like. So that's kind of my little
Well,
stump speech.
unless
Yeah.
unless they like Sassoon from Camus or something like that, then
Shots
you
fired.
then you then you
Yeah.
then you have to draw some sort of line, some sort of line. Well, Miles, I was making a joke. I think it's a tremendous society. As usual, you're like, Elton, thanks for having me spend my afternoon here. Then you come here and just rail on my organization. But let's let's focus on Chenin for a minute, because my
Yeah.
my whole goal for we do a very small amount of white wine at Robert Craig, but I just want everybody to know how serious we are about what it is that we're doing with the white wine. And I think one of the areas in which Jason has grown in his abilities as winemaker is, I think, his understanding of whites. I think, man, there is nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide when something goes wrong in white wines. And let me tell you, it was great I had all these great pictures of all these wines. One of our good customers, Jeffrey Luce, was here, just, was it yesterday or the day before? And he brought in a Domaine Le Fleuve, Polini Les Foletières.
Mm.
So it goes Clairvoyant, then Foletière, then Pucelle I think in their Polini hierarchy. But it's an $850 bottle of wine. And oh my gosh, the wine was so great. It was nice to have a DM cork come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a rogues gallery in this damn thing about what it is. But the beauty of this wine, like that '06 Chardonnay, literally, I think one, you'll get three or maybe four out of, well, 50%, I would say, are prematurely oxidized because the cork's never fully sealed. And so we had that problem on our Chardonnays in the past, but not since 2015. This is a little shot. Some of you have seen this video before, but it's a great video of what's called budding over, where these guys take a sliver. They literally bring buds from a cane and then insert. It's an art. This is when this was going on. We had a block of Cabernet that I never liked, and man, if I were under the gun, I would never get one of these to take. But Jason, I think we have like 98% success in terms of what took up there. But this is just so cool. And I wish we had this is taken by Nicholas Antoniano that manages our vineyard for Silverado Farming Company. So now they're leaving just a little room to grow. And when you look at the vineyard now, unless you know what to look for, you can't even tell. It's all bushes. And it took about 3 years for us to make this transition. And that's what it looked like after they got done, putting the buds in. And now I don't have a picture here because that picture is not yet, it may pop up before we're done talking, but I'll stop share and we'll go back in. Okay, there we go. But it's, to me, because of the fires and everything that happened, a million different reasons, I released this wine. I brought it to the Howell Mountain Vintners and Growers tasting on a 90-degree day in Oakville. And I said, man, I want to bring some of that Chenin Blanc because that's our Howell Mountain white wine. And every single person was like, put me on the list for a case of this, put me on the list for a case. And I said, I was like, this wine's really more ready than I thought it was initially. So I released it prematurely. And, almost a year ago, we're basically almost out of this wine. And I'm going to try and hold the 25 a little longer. But this wine's getting into this really good space. Any comments? Am I manning the chat, you guys? Okay. Please add me as a host. Oh my God. I don't know if I can do that. I'll try.
Service temperature.
Well, I like it. Like, we took this out of a very cold refrigerator about 30 minutes ago. And right now I mean, I'm kind of old school. In particular with champagne. I know you're Captain Sommelier over here, but I like bubbles to be pretty cold.
Mhm.
And wine like this, where you're not, this wine to me is expansive. I think it shows better like just below cellar temperature.
Yeah, my general rule of thumb for this that I like to tell people, and it's what I do as well, it's similar to what you just said. If it's a white wine, I usually have it in the refrigerator and I pull it out about 15 minutes before I'm ready to start drinking it. And then I just like to watch it evolve as it warms up. The change in temperature starts to reveal new subtle aromas to you as it warms up. But the same way with champagne that it's really enjoyable and pleasurable to drink it when it's ice cold, especially if it's hot outside. Right now we're right in the summer solstice, so I don't see anything wrong with having a nice cold glass of white wine. But definitely some of the more subtle, nuanced aromas will start to emerge as the glass warms up a little bit. So somewhere between, refrigerator and cellar temperature, which, yeah.
To 45 degrees starting out
Like
or local?
48 degrees, 49 degrees.
Yeah, well, when you pull, I mean, most fridges are around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So like, 38. So it'll come out at that temperature and then start to warm up a little bit. But yeah, like I think probably the peak flavor zone is probably somewhere between 45 and 50 Fahrenheit.
I'm telling you. We had this
But
woman that used to come over from Japan. She lived in Japan, but she was Chinese, which is not always the easiest thing to sell to the Japanese when you're Chinese. But she imported Robert Craig there, and she would always grab this thermometer that had like you know, and would she wouldn't even put it in the wine. It was some I didn't know how that worked.
Was it a gun when
It
she
was like a
pointed that?
gun.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like you get on your forehead when you go to the doctor, make sure you don't have COVID or something. But
That kind of reminds me of like the crazy baristas and coffee people that need to have the brew temperature at just the right
I like those
degree. Yeah.
people. I like those
I like
people.
those people
How many
too.
times you go to a restaurant where they pack it too hard? It's
Yeah.
32 pounds. You're supposed to practice on a scale. They pack it too hard. And then the water spills over and gets super hot. When
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get that espresso cup that has no crema because the crema can't
Right.
survive
That's
the
the
heat.
worst. That's the
And
worst.
then it's just this bitter.
You have to have the grind size right. You have to have the pressure right, right? You have to have, yeah, the water temperature. It all has to be calibrated perfectly to get that perfect shot. Yeah.
That's right. We used to go to the French Laundry every year, but now they have our wine in again. So, Michael Manello and company, if you're listening to me here, we'll come back and see you. But I was always the one thing that always used to drive me crazy. I had this unbelievable espresso machine, but that was the one thing. Everything else in that place, you're
Yeah.
like in some sort of Disneyland of perfection. And then the espresso was
Oh,
always miserable,
that's,
at the
yeah,
end of the
that's
meal.
always the last note too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, the last
But
thing.
it's about time for us to go to red wine. If somebody thinks about grabbing us a dump bucket, but
Yeah.
also I have to give Jonah a shout out on these Gabrielle all-purpose glasses. We have the thick ones here that are very sturdy, and uh, I just saw some. Thank you, Rachel. I just saw something on the Black Wine Guys podcast that there was a man on there saying that the glassware absolutely made no difference to the perception of the wine,
Mm,
and I just completely disagree because I
yeah.
had Little Rye Pinot Noir, and I poured one for my artist friend Rick Bagno, and
Hmm.
said, try it in this, and we were drinking in just a regular Riedel Somm Series glass, and then we had some. I poured him some in the hand blown version of this glass, which I highly recommend, the
That's
Gabrielle
awesome.
Gold, but it's $100 a glass, and this is 25 a stem, I think. And he said, well, this isn't the same wine.
Yeah, no,
And so
totally.
he would disagree with that premise that it makes no difference.
No, I think it makes a huge difference. And before we leave the Shannon, I just want to say that this is such a cool experience to taste this wine because this is you normally associate
Mm.
Chenin Blanc with the noble terroirs in the Loire Valley, like Sauvignon and some of the vineyards in like Cartes de Chaume and
Sommelier.
Vouvray, yeah, Saumur, so Anjou, Touraine. And it's so cool to see the expression here on Howell Mountain in Napa Valley. So up at, what is the elevation here? We're
20
above
2,300 feet.
2,300 feet elevation, which is incredible. That's extremely high elevation for Napa Valley. So these vineyards are punching above the fog line, right?
Exactly.
So instead of like being covered in that, warm down comforter, those vineyards in the valley floor, these are the first vines to wake up and the last ones to go to sleep. And so they're getting that full intensity, but they're also at elevation. So that's like cooler, right? Than
10 to 12 degrees cooler on average than the valley floor. And Jason has some unbelievable, Jason Giordano's, the weather data that we get, the number of degree days versus St. Helena. It is just so much colder there.
so interesting, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get those fluctuations because you're above the fog line, so you're not being these vineyards are kicking off that comforter and they're exposed to the elements. Then you have a grape variety like Chenin, which already is super good at retaining its acidity, and it has a phenolic, it has high phenolics too. So like lots of flavor compounds and texture compounds. And seeing what this does on these mountain soils is really incredible. And I love tasting Chenin. It's one of my favorite grape varieties. I would love to see how this wine tastes like down the road because I think the ageability is probably off the charts for this.
It is. I mean, you're talking, Raveneau Chablis is a 3.35 pH, and this Jason is what, like 3.2, 3.18, 3.25,
That's awesome.
and 8 grams a liter TA, which is titratable acidity. So I mean, it's Jason is always complaining about what he calls the four-wheel drive vehicles of the Napa Valley 4x4, 4x4 Cabernets, which are 4 grams a liter titratable acidity and 4.0 pH.
The 4x4.
It's because there's an inverse relationship between pH and acidity. And so this is as racy as the raciest wine on the planet Earth. When you think of like, Raveneau, et cetera, in Chablis. I mean, this thing is an acid monster.
Yeah, which is awesome. And then aromatically, I'm just getting lots of those like quince notes, beeswax. It's kind of like a dewy meadow. Like there's something like kind of, spring flowers that I really like. And then there's almost kind of like a salinity to it as well. And it's Chenin Blanc on volcanic soils, mountainside vineyards. So really cool.
Well, I appreciate that. And Jonathan, I just saw a chat pop up. Which order are we drinking these? You start with the white wine, for God's sake. And then we're going to Howell Mountain Cuvée, and then we're going to the big boy. So I'm gonna hit share again. I'm just so excited about the possibility for this Chenin Blanc down the road and what Jason has produced and Jordanos and Mac in 2025 is truly stunning. It's the only wine we got in 2025. We brought it in, everything else got smoked out. So
Oof.
it's the Elton's testicles are sore again. Uh,
It's such a cool line. This is such a nice contrast to have with all the big impressive Cabernets that we make, but this is just so nice to.
Well, I have many great ones. Unfortunately, you guys, we can't charge less than 70, as Kirsten will attest. We barely make any money at that because it's, again, on Valley Floor, it's a third of the cost to farm the vineyard than this place, and we use Pete Richmond. So if the wine's over $300 a bottle and it's not Jim Barber or David Abreu or Mike Wolf, it's Pete Richmond or Phil Couturi, who farms our Veeder site. So
Nice.
they are the best, and this wine shows that. So now I don't know what photographs I have. Oh my God, I can't even tell you. I'm finally relaxing, folks, from getting here. I didn't think I was going to make it. There's a NASCAR race weekend, and I got stuck. As I said, my 40-minute commute turned into an hour and 30 or an hour and 40-minute commute. But some of the wines that I love most in the world, we were having this discussion before we came on, are the second wines like Giuseppe Quintarelli. If you ever see this wine at a party, you go straight over there and pour a huge glass until somebody says, "Excuse me, sir, we're just pouring taste." You just immediately go there and do what I
Oh,
hate.
so you're that guy.
Yeah, yeah. With Quintarelli, I would be.
Yeah,
And but there's no region like the Veneto, I think, that is an up and comer. When I went and ordered this at the what's what called the Antica Bottega del Vino there in Verona, where you could sit in the same chairs in the bar where they had the Roman soldiers would sit.
Oh, no kidding.
And I ordered Quintarelli off the list because I'm like, look at this price. This is $500 retail, and on wine lists it's always a grand or more, and they had it for like 200 euro on the wine list. And I said,
Easy.
I said, man, I'm gonna get a bottle of Cantarelli to start. And he's like, the Somm comes over and is like, that wine is shit. Let me pour you some good wine. And I was like, wow, man. And sure enough, but this is the second label or not the second label, but it's considered the second wine. It's kind of the junior version, like our Cuvée is. So let's get the Cuvée going. Everybody, we have 2023 Cuvée, which is, I think, the best Cuvée we've made, which is, our young vines, what young vines we have, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Malbec, Cabernet Sauvignon, predominantly from the stick. But I love Quintarelli's Valpolicella more. And I do the same with Massi, the same with Bertani. I always prefer the Valpos more because they're not so over the top. Now, Chateau Petrus, man, when I worked for the Bundschuhs, Jim Bundschuh had a big supply of this because they were distributed by Chateau and Estates. They were imported by Chateau and Estate, who they marketed their wine. So we got all this Petrus, and we finally drank the last one last year. And we went to lunch, and I'm like, where's the Petrus? He's like, Elton, we've had it all. I'm telling you, it was a dark day in the Slone household.
It's dried up, yeah.
But for that 2000, look at that, seven grand. The second label is Fleur de Petrus from Pomerol, and same retailer. I looked at this today. This is current 2018's current vintage, 239. Pingus, which I have friends that have a big cellar of this. I'm fortunate there. $1,300 for Pingus. Peter Sisick, I love you. He's single-handedly bringing back Tinto Fino instead of Tempranillo. He's saving all those old vine vineyards there in the Ribera del Duero.
Great biotype of Tempranillo.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. And so then here's the Florida Pingus. This is why we have a Florida Craig second label, but you can see 155. That also had some nice big reviews on it, et cetera, et cetera. So this we're going to the White Rocks of Candlestick Vineyard here.
That has such a knockout nose, by the way.
And I drink this wine sometimes, and I'm thinking, should we just do away with half the oak program? Because this wine is basically a year earlier in release. It's lots that are more elegant, not as powerful. Because one of our ethos at Robert Craig is to have people to be able to drink the greatest wines in the world. But I don't care how wealthy you are, you can't just have $100 bottle of wine every night. And, for our members, I think we offered this at $49 and the regular price is $70, but it's just such a killer bottle of wine. And I think this thing's going to do 30 years in the cellar.
Yeah, I mean, it's got lots of primary notes to it. Like the fruit is kind of just bursting out of the glass. Really nice bright florals to it as well. Kind of like a violet candies. You ever have those little French candies like the Anis de Flavigny? They're called.
Yeah.
They're kind of licorice and they come in different flavors. There's like a floral, like a flower one.
I love nice. Some people don't care for, anisette, anise. They pronounce it anus, but it's like
they want to be cheeky.
It's like cilantro, right? You either love cilantro or you do not like cilantro.
Yeah.
It all depends.
Yeah, and here to me that's like a nice like anise licorice note, but it's balanced with a lot of other things that are going on, and there's definitely some nice chocolatey. I also taste kind of like a Mexican coffee. Do you ever have that like Café de Ollo or Olla where they mix in some spices like cinnamon and sometimes put some orange slices into it. And then you've got the mountain, landscape here where I'm sure that some of those mountain herbs like the pine, maybe some eucalyptus, the bay laurel,
all the burned stumps that Jason Woodbridge from 100 Acre left us,
the smoky stump,
the burned stump flavor that's in this. We used to have pine flavor,
candlestick,
but I mean, you can see these soils where on this wine is predominantly from Candlestick, property. because that's where we lost a bunch of vines to fire. And so we have a section of young vines. We did a replant over there too. But you can see this soil, it doesn't have that really bright red rock, but it's got the rock in the back.
Yeah.
And you can see this is what they're pulling out of this vineyard after that's the third ripping of the vineyard.
Wow.
Still these huge rocks coming out. And Natalie here took a great picture the last time we were up there not long ago. And it's more of this, it's still in this, but the vine roots are on those rocks. And you can see just how white those vineyard lanes are from the drone shots here. There's the backside of Mount St. Helena, but it gives this wine, these wines have this, Galoni has always described it as energy and nerve. And I think that's a perfect descriptor because this wine just has, I drink Napa Cabernet that is just the reason that Napa Cabernet became a hated wine by all the gatekeepers such as yourself in the business that buy for major restaurant programs. I wouldn't say hated, but you're not thrilled to go taste it.
I was never allowed to hate it because I was always working in, Napa Valley restaurants and at storied restaurants and hotels here. So, that's always the first thing that people, want to go for.
But when you're at home, like if I were to fill up a bathtub with the amount of European wine that I've had over the last week, I'd be like, man, this is kind of getting over the thighs here. And domestic, because sometimes I want that energy level. And what I love about these wines is it has this beautiful energy level.
It really does. Like there's a lot of tension and poise in this wine that makes you think more of a European styled wine. And perhaps that's partly due to the vintage here, right? Like the 23 was kind of it was a cooler year, right? It was a wet winter.
As Jason says, it was coincidence that we pressed off the day before Thanksgiving. Some coincidence. Jason's like, we are done here. It's been on the skins long enough. But 2023 was, I think, the latest harvest we've had in the history of Robert Craig, except for maybe back in the day. But back then we were just thinking, man, why is this stuff getting ripe? Because our nutrition program, back when I started and this will lead us into the 22 vintage of the estate wine. But when I started at Craig, I was getting everything pruned. I was like, we got to prune earlier, man, because this stuff is not getting phenolic ripeness. We're not getting the flavor character we need before the vines are shutting down.
Yeah.
I mean, we were lousy farmers. Carlos has always been a great farmer, but he didn't have the resources that he needed to do what we wanted to do. So everything's changed in terms of the pruning, the vine nutrition. Of course, we've been organically certified and farmed that way for a long time. But it's man, oh man, I dig this wine. It has so much going on to me in there. So we could have labeled this one Cabernet, I think. Is that right, Jason?
Oh,
the
right.
23 is over 75% or it's close.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's over for sure.
Yeah.
Love it. I have the winemaking peanut gallery back there. I have to watch what I say.
Yeah.
Usually like, well, Jason studied at the Sorbonne for years and then he was at Mouton for a spell. And,
I mean, there's so much flavor development, I think, from that long, slow vintage, right? And so it's incredibly complex. And for a second, quote unquote, second wine as well. There's also something very primary and enjoyable about it at this stage in its youth. It's so alive in the glass. That's what I think is really striking.
Yeah, and to me, just like our Jason was saying that Guerrero, who's on the chat, he was telling me that he's discovered our wine by the glass called Fleur de Craig Cabernet because I was tired of all the lousy wine out there that's from the big corporations. So we use Danielle and Mike Price's beautiful little vineyard that they make Fat Dragon from. And even that wine and leftover lots from Affinity, but even that wine, you take a couple glasses, you put it in the refrigerator, you come back a week later and it does not show any oxidative decay. I mean, it is absolutely amazing how all these wines, and to me, that's one of the signs of a wine that's going to do very well long-term in the cellar is wines that are resistant to oxygen decay
Yes.
after they've been opened up.
That's a great test. Yeah, like as a wine buyer, I would always, if I was considering putting something on a buy the glass program, a lot of times would ask the wine distributor, "Can I have a bottle? Can you leave a bottle with me at the restaurant? I just want to
You're
see
one
how
of
it."
those.
Yeah,
I
like how
just
did it
need you
go
to
over
read the
them?
bottle.
Well, it's more for the ones that I was like really on the fence about, like especially some of the like lower intervention wines that oftentimes I really like, but I just want to know how that changes with oxygen and with time.
I like
Sometimes they
low
get
intervention wines as long as somebody else pays all that money and orders them, then I can just have a taste.
Well, that's the thing. And as a buyer, you don't want to have to, get wine sent back every other glass that gets
Yeah,
ordered,
yeah.
right? Like,
I've been there, man.
yeah.
I'm a natural wine proponent, natural disaster. Pour that stuff, keep plenty of it in a tank and put it on the flames that they come
Yeah, but
out
I think
again.
the real point is trying to grow wine sustainably and to take care of the environment. And I think the farming is probably the first priority, right? And then we want to take care of the planet. We want to take care of the earth. We also want to keep things sustainable. We want to, create healthy social structures around the businesses and the
Yeah, of
production
course,
of it, of
give the
course.
workers a taste of the lash at least once a week.
But it doesn't need to be a dogma, right? Like there doesn't need to be a dogmatism around how much, sulfur necessarily you add, or I think that anyways, that seems to be the most reasonable answer that I get from most growers. It doesn't need to be a dogma.
No, I agree. I agree. And to some extent, I've been told by different people that even organic certification is dogma, but I'm not going to go
Hmm.
there. I just, hey, I just saw a chat pop up in the notification from Paul Brandow, and Brandow's, I love you. Um, I hope you're enjoying it's 78 degrees with no humidity and a light zephyr of a breeze. It's absolutely one of those days that you say there's nothing so rare as a day in June. So 23, I think our 22 is almost equal with 23 in terms of vintage. 22 has had such a bad rap in the Napa Valley. And so it's time to go to the 22 big brother of the Cuvée, which is the full-on Howell Mountain Estate Cabernet 22, which is our current release. And it's funny, like I was getting ready to go over to Cole's Chop House because I love that place and we didn't currently have wine in. And the distributor kept saying, well, I'm going to see. I'm like, I'm just going down there and I'm going to it's cattle call day. I'm going to go in and just talk to Michael and sell some wine. And our rep called and said, whatever you do, don't bring in any 22s. He's not buying any 22s. And so I brought 21 and 22 Howell Mountain and I brought 22 and 23 Veeder because the Veeder, I've let a little 23 leak out because as usual, people have money, I have wine. I'm trading it earlier than I should. Veeder is supposed to be released in the fall, but for
Nice.
restaurants, we're letting a little out.
Nice.
So at any rate, I brown bagged the wine and said, okay, you guys taste these and tell me what you think.
So they tasted them
They
blind.
tasted them blind, and then Michael, the unveiling said, I can't believe this, but I'm going to order the 22s. And I was like, there you go. So he preferred it to the 21, the 22 Howell Mountain to the 21, and the 22 Veeder to the 23. And the combination, we were talking about how you mitigate a heat vintage. In some extent, I mean, 22, it was over 120 degrees for 4 straight days over Labor Day weekend. But at Robert Craig, we're lucky we instead of pruning early, we prune late now. So these big heat events that happen, the fruit's not as far along. So we're always worried that the buds are pushing and we're still cutting canes off the damn vines. But the bottom line is we're at altitude. It certainly didn't get to 120 degrees on Howell Mountain.
Mm.
It's cooler at elevation, and the vines are old, which is the other big mitigating factor.
Right.
We have old vines are all up there from the 90s, and it really it makes these tremendous wines. So our numbers on 22 in terms of pH and TA, titratable acidity again, and the pH value is almost identical to 2021. And in some ways, I think the wines are more balanced than the 21s, which are huge tannin bombs.
And those old vines, they really sort of self-regulate their crop loads, right? So
Oh, exactly.
vintage to vintage, they kind of are more resilient than younger vines.
I just go out there and just add as much Miracle Grow as I can to every freaking vine.
Nitrogen,
I
phosphate.
said, this, yeah.
So then too, it like is the canopy management
Yeah.
critical to prevent, shriveling, desiccation, sunburn in those really warm years too?
Yes, I mean the key, I mean, you look at our vineyards may not look as pretty, and a lot of vineyards on valley floor. I mean, California sprawl is back
Mm,
as a canopy management system. You don't hardly see any VSP anymore, vertical shoot position trellising that looks all hedged up like they do at Opus
that's
One.
super interesting.
You know, a lot more people are using, what's the method called? It's not dressage, it's where you tie the vines
Yeah.
instead of
No, it is the
head.
braiding, right? The
The
tressage.
braiding,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah. But we use, I mean, it takes a lot of handwork. You have to be willing to spend money
Mhm.
to do it. And it's always painful at Robert Craig because we don't have humongously deep pockets, but thanks to all of you, our business is doing very well. And it's fascinating. You can do it in many ways, but if you want to make a great tomato salad, you have to start with great tomatoes.
Mhm.
And so we have the site that is naturally, when Jonah, who was here earlier, he buys fruit from us from our Howell Mountain Estate Vineyard where the winery is to make his Pilcrow wine. And Decanter gave his Granite Lake 2022 98 points, which is the highest score they awarded to any wine in their Napa Cabernet issue for 22. And that's a serious magazine with serious reviewers. And I think it's a testament to the natural ingredient base that we have there and the fact that these wines are more European in style. So I've tasted many 22s from Howell Mountain. I found them to be thrilling. And from the valley floor, low elevation vineyards, I found them to be hollow, alcoholic, and overripe.
I've noticed this a similar phenomenon like across vintages. I feel like the mountains vineyards just have a little bit more resilience in some of these difficult vintages than the valley floor does oftentimes.
And well, some vintages to me, the valley floor is more successful than the mountains. I think 23 was one of those vintages where in the mountains we're already pressed up against these very cool sites. I mean,
Mhm.
we on our Veeder property, which is a really cold site, I was amazed that Galoni gave it 97 points because that thing was, I mean, it's going to get a leg out of bed like 6 years from now. It's going to start to wake up. I bet it is an acidic tannic monster, that thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I would love to have just a little more plushness on that wine. So I prefer the 22 to the 23. And in Howell Mountain, I'm torn, but I love this 22. It has so much balance. We're even tasting it here, and um, we have a lot of people in this tasting room that don't like air conditioning and the wonders that it bestows on you. So and so we're having this wine at what appears to be 80 degrees inside, which is not ideal temperature for Cabernet sharing. But do I have anything in the chat that I need to address, Pam, before I go back to share?
Yes.
uh, Paul and everybody just keep telling me how great I am. I mean, we are. So we were up there with Natalie, took a good shot of Bud Break up there. And I mean, this is early this year in March. This is late March. Everybody on Valley Floor was already full on, with shoots growing out of the vines. It looked green and it was so wild. We only had like a few places in the entire property that were budding over. And one of the things that makes these Howell Mountain Cabernets so great, I think after our purchase of Candlestick in 2015, and we didn't start getting Malbec off the vines. We planted Malbec on the terraces, but this Malbec, so we started getting Malbec probably into the estate Cabernet program, probably 7 years after we bought the vineyard. So this is one of the this is one of those wines that has benefited from the Malbec, which is just this savage, dark, perfumed wine.
Mm.
And, you know, unless it comes from Mendoza, people don't order it from somebody's wine club. Cabernet Franc, I can do, but Petit Verdot or Malbec as a single variety, don't do it, folks. Don't do it. That's a money grab. Here's the Petit Verdot section, which unfortunately we lost some of this. You can see, you know, back in the background, that all used to be woods back there, and now it's all completely burned out. Again, don't buy 100 Acre. Thank you, Jason Woodbridge, for doing this to us. But pretty soon it'll be called Elton's Acre. I'm working on a name for the end of the lawsuit. But the Petit Verdot, these, you know, as the winery refers to them, as winemakers always refer to them as mixed blacks, which are like Petit Verdot, Malbec, Merlot. It really adds this depth and concentration. Again, you can see this thing is on a plateau with all that white volcanic rock around. It looks out over Pope Valley. It's just, and unfortunately, that's the last photo. I can't believe my photos didn't show up. You know, the bottom line is this stuff is just not sinking. Okay, wait a minute. Let me get to, there we go, full screen. So you didn't get any of my super fancy photos, folks. I'm sorry. I had all these great photographs of people in our company in compromised positions and all that. But you know, what can I tell you? So the moral of the story, what do you get when you have this wine, Myles?
Well, I think you can really taste that signature Howell Mountain Cabernet. You know, there's that sort of, you know, graphite cedar note, which really always comes through from a nice like Cabernet Sauvignon on a good terroir. On these soils, and you know, that you mentioned, there's red soil, right? Mixed in throughout the vineyard, so there's iron in the vineyard.
There's iron,
and that's interesting that there's kind of that through line where you can taste that minerality, and there's a textural component to that too. And I was trying to describe this to a group. We were in Burgundy last week, and we were tasting some Pommard, and we were tasting like some Bonne Chambon-Musigny, similar soils where you can see that it's red, right? You can see that there's iron-rich soil, and similar to Pomerol, which you referenced earlier. And so there's this quality, and aromatically expresses itself almost as kind of a sanguine, like almost like a blood type character. But then on the palate, it's almost like having like a tongue depressor. It kind of like weighs down a little bit on your palate. It puts some pressure down. But it's really interesting, and it kind of adds this depth to the wine. And I noticed that in this heavyweight, you know, Cabernet from Howell Mountain. And these wines are, you know, when you're talking about mountain wine, this is built like a fortress, whereas on the valley floor, maybe it's more like a, you know, a cathedral where you can see all the artifacts on the outside. It's a beautiful building, but this is like, you need to like walk past the outer walls, you know, to get a glimpse. Like, this is a big structured wine.
Well, it's a great way to put it, Myles. What I love about our wines at Robert Craig is that they are indicative of vintage, and they are indicative of the site. And we've always made wines, you know, when I was in distribution years and years ago, we've always made wines that taste like Howell Mountain. And you could line up 20 Howell Mountain wines and 20 Valley Floor wines, and I bet I could pick 19 of the producers from Howell Mountain out of those wines. And anymore, there are people that are closer down to the bottom of the AVA, who I won't mention, who produce wines in more of a, you know, it's a lot more aeration. They get them pretty ripe, you know, and it's like, I don't know if I'm drinking Oakville or if I'm drinking freaking Howell Mountain. It's like Valley Floor with a nice little blade of acid in the back. But for all of you, our Craigers, the people that I love, we will continue to produce wine this way until you stop buying it. And then we will start producing those overwrought wines that I hate and charging more for it, because I'll just at that point have given up. But I just, when I taste the wines together, I love the Cuvée and, but damn, it's amazing when an extra year in bottle does for the wine. It's for us, we released the Cuvée earlier
Yeah.
than the Howell Mountain. An extra year in bottle helps the wine knit together, and it's just showing more to me.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that these ones express that, they express that, amazing structure and, that regal stature, but they have that electric acidity behind it. And, we know that you always cultivated that. That's one of the reasons why Jonah likes buying fruit from you because they prize, that freshness in their wines too.
You
Um,
harvest every August 25th, Jonah's harvesting.
there you go. Yeah.
Kid,
See? Yeah.
He
Yeah.
barely makes it into September though.
Yeah. But it also means that the wine becomes so much more compatible with food, I think. And I mean, like, I want to pick the winemaker's brain here. Like, what would you pair with this Howell Mountain Cabernet? Like, what would be? Do you have a go-to pairing? Do you have a favorite like meal with this wine?
Well, it's like, oh my God, uh, not Robert De Niro, Robert Duvall.
Nice.
You
Okay.
ever saw him in Kicking and Screaming where Will Ferrell plays his son, that great
Nice.
movie. He's like, Dad, and Will Ferrell sells supplements. He's like, Dad, you really need to take some of these supplements. They'd be good for your health. And he says, I take a pill every day. It's called a steak.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah, totally.
I had a photo I was with Jeffrey Luce and Rachel. We went to Bottega, and
Nice.
they just have this crazy Tuscan wood-fired steak on the menu,
Bistecca.
that bistecca
Hmm.
alla Fiorentino.
Nice.
And so we ordered a big one of those, medium rare with a huge bone in, and we ordered a bottle of Mount Veeder 2018 off their wine list. They have a vertical of the wine. They were out of the 19. And oh my gosh, I mean, I just have to say, anything that comes out of a Tuscan chop house, you can have with Cabernet, but it's not as always as obvious as beef. But damn, I mean, sometimes I like fried tofu. Surprisingly, if you don't have Carlos's
Oh, cool.
ultimate flaming hot salsa, like carnitas tacos,
Yeah,
al
yeah.
pastor, carne asada, even tacos de pollo if they have some good sauce in there.
Yes,
I
yes.
love Mexican food in this. I'm gonna do a wine dinner coming up here in Mill Valley. I finally convinced Peter to do one at Playa,
Hmm.
my local place, but so many different things go with these wines. You can even do wild salmon, not farmed.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just can't argue with that. I mean, having like a super well caramelized, maybe dry aged steak, with that golden brown crust, put some, sea salt flakes on there, throw a sprig of rosemary on top. And
He's master som maxing right now.
yeah, I mean, but that's exactly what you want. You want that like Maillard reaction, umami bomb, that crispy brown crust on the steak. Like that's exactly what
Oh my God.
this wine is meant to.
I got to go to Kohl's.
Yeah, yeah. You know what's really good is Understudy has their dry aged ribeye there is pretty phenomenal. It's expensive, but it's good.
Sorry, well, agreed. Understudy, I'm gonna have to do it. I was still sharing the image folder. I apologize. That's my rookie nature here on the
Blank's great.
Mac.
Blank's great.
Well, we're at the end of our time, and I'm having these wines and feeling like all of this hard work and these distributors that go out of business and don't pay us. Thank you, RNDC. And man, there is nothing harder than farming in the mountains, the fires, everything else. But I want to say to all the people that are on here, man, I just love you. Thanks for supporting us. I think what we do is incredible. Myles, I love your insight. I'm lucky to call you a friend, and the fact that you're here in the Napa community. If you haven't checked out Myles' Instagram, he does Tastefully Napa. That's with a ULI,
Mhm.
and then it's Myles Trapp, NYMYLES and TRAPP. if you want his digits, they do an incredible job. Myles has one of the most interesting, he gets all these great chefs and winemakers to talk about, their favorite burger, their favorite wine spot in the Napa Valley. It's awesome. So check them out on IG or Facebook or, God forbid, LinkedIn. Hopefully everybody's above checking out interesting content on LinkedIn. I'll be like, my God, I got to get a job. But thank you, everybody. And from all of us here at Craig, what can I tell you? We love you, and to all the long timers, so happy to have you on. And whoever it was that said, well, I'm waiting on the Mount Veeder one, that is next up. I feel the need for Veed. But I have to give a shout out to this 22 Howell Mountain wine is absolutely incredible. All the 22s are. All right.
We have the team stand up and everyone say hi.
I don't like the team to get involved. This is all about me. All right, everybody, come on in behind here. Everybody stand up. You can't see yourself in the photo. Nobody else can either.
Yay.
All right, everybody say farewell. Thanks, gang. Bye, everyone.